Welcome back to Access All Areas on AFL.com.au. Joining Damien Barrett and I is the Doc, Peter Larkins. Welcome to you, Doc.
Thanks, Das. Damo, nice to see you.
A lot to get through, Doc. Chris Judd's the main story, and he'll be waiting nervously on the outcome of Lee Adams' shoulder. What can you tell us about it?
Well, Lee Adams has been playing with an unstable shoulder, Das, in the hope that he wouldn't have any incidents and get through to the end of the year and have a reco. Well, obviously on this game on Friday night, he has two incidents. Here you see the legs go up as he feels the shoulder pop in and pop back out again.
So it's popped out?
Yeah, it's subluxed. So that's a slippage of the shoulder. And he was quite sore after this. Had to leave the field, and he had all the strapping reapplied, and then had another incident in the game which hurt it even more. So that his concern would be that he's going to have to get something done to the shoulder. May not play the coming week because he's very sore afterwards, but he's playing with a pre-existing injury. The question is whether North Melbourne's report will say that the damage is significantly different. He has had a scan which shows that he's still got the loose shoulder naturally, so they haven't seen any new damage, but he has aggravated, and he didn't want to have any aggravation, Stars. He wanted to get through the year without that happening.
If you were North, would you be coughing up everything you felt happened in that incident?
Look, I think there's this code in footy, isn't there, in terms of whether or not
sometimes there's not. North Melbourne last week was subjected to a Luke Shuey attack.
I think it's public knowledge. It's been said that the shoulder, North have even said the shoulder came in and went out again. And so they've had to, sort of treat him for that. So I don't think they're going to have to lie to say that the shoulder subluxed or that he had an instability episode of slippage of the shoulder. The question is the intent. Was that a malicious thing, or was it a genuine suppression of him handballing?
As a medical world, Judge Judd on this?
Not kindly. Didn't like the look of it. You don't see many things in footy where you say, I just don't like that. Your immediate reaction is usually your best reaction. And, good a player as he is, we don't like that to see that there may have been some intent to actually hurt his shoulder.
Doc, he should know shoulders pretty well, Chris Judd, having had them reconstructed at a very young age. Do you think he would have, in that moment, had some awareness of what might happen there?
Oh, look, the moment things happen pretty quickly. He's certainly a very experienced shoulder person, Das. He's had 5 shoulder operations, and, so whether that's relevant, he certainly knew that there was tape on the shoulder, and he knew that that was his opponent that he was playing on, that fellow. So I think that inevitably North will have to decide. If they tell the truth, they'll say the shoulder came out, he was worse off for the rest of the game because of it. Fact.
And jeopardise the season to a point.
Jeopardise the season because North didn't want him to be shoulder coming out. They're not going to play a player who's likely to be getting interrupted during the match. So they wanted him to get through the season without that happening. We'll
touch on another North player, Drew Petrie, soon in this segment. But we'll go to Essendon now, Doc, where Hibberd on the weekend went down in the 18th incident of a soft tissue injury.
Yeah, you just see him running away, number 43. We see it again. It's a quad injury on the right side. He had a right hamstring injury early in the season and missed a month. He becomes the 19th incident of soft tissue, way above the average of 6 or 7. So you see Hibberd talking to the doctor. He does go downstairs and go through a little drill. They got him to do some kicking, Damo, just to see if he could get through. But obviously, look, a quad injury, I mentioned Zaharakis, who's going to miss potentially 8 with a quad injury. This is a sprint quad injury, similar time frame, often 4 to 6 weeks.
Yep. James Hird after the game about what lies ahead now for Essendon on this front.
Unfortunately, the game is so hard now that things creep up on you, and we just have to be very careful over the next 3 or 4 days with our players.
So there's Hirdy, Doc, he has got to be seriously concerned. He might say we're going through the rehab process, but I mean, the 47 combined.
I reckon he's been saying that for 10 weeks in a row, that we'll look at it. They'll look at it. Clearly they'll look at it. They don't want another pre-season and then season where they have 19 soft tissue injuries. It's just unheard of. Reimers also did a hamstring in that same game, so there's another one added in. So look, they agree it's been associated with something they've done with their weights program and their strength program. Their bottom line is they think they're running out the game better, so fatigue is less, but clearly they've broken down some players. They have to work out the balance, does.
Yeah, they've definitely tipped it over the edge. This is one that I'm going to look away from, Doc, because
every time.
I've had enough of knee recos.
Well, look, we saw one earlier in the year, when we saw it, but this is Jamie Bennell, of course, at the Etihad game on Saturday, doing his left ACL and his lateral ligament and his posterior lateral capsule. We're going to see it a few times. He sort of doesn't realise the ground's coming up when he lands, and you just see the angle the knee goes through. So the scan showed an ACL plus additional ligament damage, so full reconstruction. I mean, ironically, the time frame to get back is going to be about the same if you just had an ACL dust. So provided there's not too much bone bruising, Bennell will be back. But that's the 13th one for this year that we've seen in the ACLs, and obviously we don't want to be seeing too many of those. And Robbie Gray was the one earlier on with the year with the same sort of mechanism, wasn't it? You don't see those bad ones very often.
The ruckman Mark Jamar has done the same calf he'd already done this year. His season is in doubt.
It will be. Look, he was a late withdrawal in round 14, therefore missed round 15. So it was really, I was surprised he came back and played round 16, but in fact he didn't play. He got through less than 1 quarter and re-injured the calf. And if we think of Tarrant and David Hill, the big guys with calf injuries, Damo, they all tend to have to be 4 4 to 8 week injury.
Yeah.
So with Jamar, let's hope it's not going to be more than 3 or 4 weeks, but it'll certainly be that amount of time before Melbourne get him back, I reckon.
And the co-captain Jack Grimes is always in the wars. He's rolled an ankle or had an ankle injury on the weekend.
Yeah, left ankle. Grimes' family's had it. Dylan Grimes has been in trouble with hamstrings, gone off to Germany. Jack here, you'll see land. You'll see Ballantyne land, and he just gets the ankle trapped underneath it here and twists it across. And so, look, he played out the game with probably some pain relief and strapping. And I make the point that a lot of the players miss the following week when they push on and try to be brave like that. So I reckon Grimes will have to be really convincing that he'll play next week. Otherwise, they'll have him a week or 2 off.
A couple of big name Saints we need to hear about, Doc. We'll start with Nick Dal Santo and then Lee Montagna.
Yeah, both these players had little incidents that they played out the game. With Nick Dal Santo, you see his left knee get trapped under, and he just sort of has a little tweak of the medial side. They'll scan that today just to see whether he has any internal damage. Just watching him go down again, and it really just pinches, and it's not going to be a major ligament thing. It might have been a bit of cartilage damage. Played out the game sore, but again, they'll look and see whether they want to risk him to play. And Lee Montagna also got cleaned up, much in a collision where you see him come in, bottom screen, slide in, and gets hit in the left shoulder. He gets that sort of dead arm for a little bit of time, AC joint pain. So I think Lee will be all right to play without any trouble, I would think, Das.
Said it again last week, Damo. Stay away from Big Sauce Merritt. He's a wrecking ball.
He does.
He actually is so powerful that he hurts more people. I don't think he intends to, but just get out of his way, Damo.
Got a couple again on the weekend, didn't he?
Yeah.
And was it even his own teammate too, one stage?
Get out of his way, whatever you're doing.
Doc, pretty ugly incident yesterday with Lewis Roberts-Thompson at Subiaco, wasn't it? With
There was
the
concern with a head clash here, and in fact he developed more blurred vision when they got him in the room. So clearly he had a head clash. Damo had to go off the ground. He was able to get up, but then they had to bring him in. But then he developed more blurred vision, and he got a dilated pupil, which is a sign of swelling in the brain. So Sydney did not muck around at all. Got him off to hospital. He was able to come back and fly back to Sydney out of this game. He seen him go to hospital there when the doc didn't want to keep him to the ground because he needed better observation. So they haven't found any structural damage on that. He was just getting some swelling on the brain, but it wouldn't surprise me with the conservative attitude we have to injuries that LRT has a week off. But Sydney will monitor that very closely this week.
There were 8 Eagles out of their best 22 out of that game yesterday. Is Jack Darling going to miss a few games?
Look, they say he had a tight hamstring in the first quarter, played on, and then later on the game they did the sensible decision to take him out before he ripped it. But a tight hamstring can be caused by a little strain in the hamstring. So I guess, again, they'll scan that. And I mentioned Buddy Franklin as an example of someone who's just felt tight and ended up having something probably perhaps more. So I think Darling, if they add him to the list as another one of their tall forwards, I mean, it's really going to be a problem. So they said they're being conservative, and I guess they'll have a look during the week. He's probably a 50-50 to play.
Doc, Adelaide Crows, Tippett and Walker already out of the side. They lost another forward, Ricky Henderson.
Yeah, Ricky Henderson with a nasty ankle injury again. Just the way that gets fallen on, Das, and it doesn't go left or right, it goes forward, so it strains the internal ligaments. The Crows are waiting on. He hasn't had scans as of this stage, Das, but they're expecting that to be what they call the high ankle sprain. You see the ice on the front there rather than on the side. Couldn't put weight through it, so the pain is going up through the inside of the shin. That turns out to be the old syndesmosis injury, as we love to call it. Often that's a 6 to 8 week injury. So the Crows are hoping it's 4 to 6. But of course, Ricky Henderson, with all their other injuries they've had, Tippett with the concussion didn't get up, of course, from last week.
Same game, Reece Palmer for the Giants. This was a horrific blow to the cheekbone, Doc.
Yeah, he gets hit in the side of the face, so half in the cheekbone, just below the eye, and in the side of the jaw. And look, it was a concussion situation again. With the respect for the head, he had to get medically treated on the day and was looked after there. And he was down at Bondi in the surf today with the teammates, so GWS had their recovery at Bondi. Nice place to do your recovery if you're playing up in Sydney, and he was good. So they're just going to do the traditional concussion monitoring on Reece Palmer, and he expect him to play if he comes through that.
And Doc, Drew Petrie, who kicked 7 goals in that game on Friday night against Carlton, adductor was the reason he was subbed off at three-quarter time. What's the latest there?
Well, the latest is he's had a scan which shows a little strain, and look, North are being upbeat in the hope that with a longer break they've got before, they've got 8 or 9 days before they've got to play, but I'd be amazed. I mean, Drew Petrie, he kicked 7, he had significant adductor soreness, they did sub him out, which was smart, but the scan did show a little strain, so I mean, it'd be very surprising, put it that way, if they risked Drew Petrie to play in the following round, even if he's just still a little bit sore. Adductor strain that becomes a tear, you're looking at a month if it happens.
Comprehensive from you, as always. Doc, final word, Lee Adams, does he get the shoulder reconstructed or does he play on?
I think he will play on, and they'll give him one more chance, and they'll say, Lee, Nathan Fyfe principle, I'll call it, Das. If it comes out again, you're going to be put away for the season. But he's too sore at the moment. He probably won't play this week just from the soreness from last week's incident.
See you next week,
Thanks,
Doc.
Das.
Access all areas. Looking forward to Lethal and Damo on Friday, going very, very nicely on afl.com.au. But for now, from the Doc, Damo and I, it's goodbye.